Oh, I can't find them. Share screen. Yes.
All right, good morning and welcome to today's Placer County Master Gardeners Workshop. Brooke Moeller will be giving a presentation on container gardening. Just as a reminder, this workshop is being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel, Placer County MGS. A link to that video recording and a link to the actual PowerPoint slide file will be posted on our website, our homepage, Placer County Master Gardeners, in the next few days. If you have any questions, please enter them into the chat box and we'll go through those at the end of the presentation. With no further ado, I'd like to introduce one of our own, Placer County Master Gardener, Brooke Moeller. Good morning, Brooke.
Hey, good morning, Lauren. Thank you so much. And gardeners, thank you for joining us this morning via our Zoom workshop on container gardening. My name is Brooke Moeller. I've been a Placer County Master Gardener since 2018, the last graduating class. But I've been doing container gardening for about 30 years. So with that, let's get going and see what we can do here. I think I'm going to have to mess with my slideshow again. Hold on. There we go. So the first thing we might want to ask is, who are the Placer County Master Gardeners? What we do is we extend research-based sustainable gardening and composting information. Not only are we master gardeners, we are master composters as well. We attempt to present accurate and impartial information to the home gardener, and we encourage the public to make informed gardening decisions. And these are some of the places where you can find us. We have a hotline with the number there where you can call us and leave your name and phone number and your question. Because of COVID, nobody is actively answering the phone, but we do have a recording. We have a website where you can also ask questions. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We write a monthly column in the Gold Country Media. Also on our website, you can sign up to get our quarterly newsletter, which is the Curious Gardener. And we also have the calendar and gardening guide, which you may still be able to find at places like Green Acres. And when there isn't a pandemic, you can also find us at workshops, fairs, and festivals. We have a speakers by request bureau. We do these various workshops, usually in person. We normally are at the farmers markets, and we have in different fairs and festivals. And we all love to do our garden fair in April and our Mother's Day garden tour when we're able to do that. And hopefully we will be able to resume that sometime in the next year or so. This is what we're going to be covering today. My agenda is I'm going to give you a brief history of container gardening and some of the advantages. I'm going to help you get it right by selecting the right containers, planting medium, and plants. We'll cover repotting. Also, for people who are interested in fruits and vegetables and herbs, we'll be covering those. Some care and troubleshooting guides and some photos, and then we'll wrap it up with summary. So a little bit about container gardening is, let's just define it first so that we're all on the same page. And just so we are on the same page, I'm going to be using containers and pots, those terms interchangeably. But container gardening is defined that it's not open to the soil below. So as you can see in these balconies, there is no soil below. All you have is containers. If you have a raised bed in your garden and it's open to the soil below, that is what you have. You have a raised bed. But the raised container gardens have been around for a really long time. In excavating ancient Rome, Egypt, and the Orient, they have found remnants of container gardens. And the grand gardens of Great Britain and France had lots of different container gardens that spotlighted herbs and trees and all sorts of ornamental shrubs. And there's been a growing interest in container gardens because about 50 years ago, all of those 50% of the plants that were sold in nurseries went into open soil. Now 50% go into containers. And that's due just to shrinking space. We don't have as much open land. Lots of people are living in smaller urban areas, and they still want to be able to garden like the people in these balconies. And so that leaves you with containers. But some of the advantages of container gardening is that that's spots. So that really helps a lot by having a display element. Like you can see here, you raise a different elevation, and it gives you a good chance to be able to hide unsightly elements, maybe like a telephone pole or a septic cover, anything along those lines. You're also not limited by poor soil. Up here where I live in Christian Valley, our soil is clay and full of rocks. And I have to tell you, it doesn't make gardening very much fun. So unless you have had a lot of time to use your compost and get your soil in good condition, container gardening allows you to be able to tailor the types of plants, the soil to the types of plants that you want to use. It also allows you to incorporate different tender plants because you can move them around. It'll enhance flat and boring areas and camouflage utility boxes and that sort of thing. So that it offers a lot of different advantages. Also, for people who become physically challenged, you can have a container garden, as you can see with these folks on the chairs. Their raised bed is, their container is actually on wood, so it is a container. You can rotate your displays when you get tired of looking at one thing. It's really easy to change it out, especially seasonally for holidays and stuff. And should you move, you can take your plants with you if they're not planted in something too large. This is a picture of my old backyard in Southern California. And as you can see, I didn't have much open land. I had a big pool and a lot of concrete, which was all flat. So by adding these red containers, which also tied into a lot of the color in my house, it added different elevations and a chance to highlight different plants. So let's get on with what we should know about containers. The first thing is that they need to be large and deep. One of the, unless you're just doing like a little succulent bowl. So, but basically, if anything that you want to have in your garden, you need to have more soil in that planter so that it will support the plant and give it the chance to get nutrients, because the only nutrients it's going to have are the ones that you add. It's not going to be able to draw upon the soil. It also is that's going to be where it's going to draw its water. So you need to make sure that the container is going to be large enough. Also, so you need to take into consideration how big the plants are that you're planting and give them room to grow as well. The other thing to remember about your containers is that they need to have good drainage, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. So these are some of the different types of containers that you can use. You probably are familiar with most of them. Clay and terracotta is a simple one, and it's inexpensive. It provides pretty good insulation. You just need to discard them if they become cracked. Plastic is nice, it's lightweight, and it can be really colorful. That in itself can add a lot of drama to the area that you're trying to enhance. The lightweight ones aren't going to give you as much insulation as the ones that are a little bit heavier plastic. They'll be more durable. Wood is good. It provides good insulation. It does need to be treated with a non-toxic preservative. You don't want it to dry out. Metal is nice for an enhancement, but it does get hot and cold, so you need to make sure you're not going to fry or freeze your plant roots. Fibers usually remain talking about basket material. Stone can be nice. It's going to be heavy, obviously. Concrete, the same thing. It's going to be needing to stay in place. You're not going to want to move that around. Fiberglass comes in lots of different shapes, colors, and sizes. It can get brittle, and it doesn't provide great insulation. Glazed earthenware is what we often see when we go to the nurseries. And the colors are beautiful, and they also, again, can make them in lots of different sizes and shapes. But there's the unexpected, where you can use your imagination and have some fun. So the thing with drainage is a lot of times people talk about adding gravel to the bottom of the pot, and you don't want to do that. What that does is it shifts your saturated zone up, as you can see in these illustrations. Your drainage holes, you need to have several of them so you do have good drainage, because your roots don't want to be wet. They should be at least 1 inch in diameter. You can use a mesh from like window screening to put over there if you want to try to make sure the soil and the water doesn't drain out as readily. Again, you can use a saucer if you want to, but you should probably have those little feet that you can buy in the nurseries that will elevate the pot out of the saucer. These are some examples that are kind of cute. They got a half barrel. I like that one because it's on its side, which is sort of unpredictable and unusual for seeing a wine barrel like that. And again, you can see how over here on this side, the wooden barrel over here enhances the whole area, which is just planted in the soil. And this one over here you can see how that elevates that pot up and breaks up just the flatness of that area. Here's a good example of the unexpected too. You can use these for to repurpose and reuse your different things you might have around the house, and show your interest in different hobbies. An old chair where the bottom's been removed, and they probably have used window screening stapled to the bottom to hold in the potting soil, and then potted up with some cute annuals. You can use your imagination and get it whatever you like that you think that might look cute. There's really no limit so long as you have enough room for the plants to grow and some drainage. So moving on with what to put inside of your container is you don't want to use any of the garden dirt that you're trying to escape, especially the clay. The garden dirt, it just doesn't hold its structure, and the roots aren't going to do well. It doesn't provide the nutrients that your plants need. So it's best to use either compost with a sterile topsoil. You can use compost with peat or sand, or you can just go and buy a bag of potting soil at the nursery. You can add perlite and vermiculite if you want to add something extra to it to allow better drainage. And a lot of potting soils already come with fertilizer mixed in, and that's always a great option to get your plants started. If you decide to go that way, you can go ahead and not have to fertilize your plants for a month or two, as per what the bag recommends. And then it allows you to go ahead and if you don't want to do it, you can just add the time release fertilizer on your own. And you can also do that slow release or water holding granules. We don't have any data on whether or not those water holding granules really help, but those are different options that you could add if you wanted to. We have a little saying in Master Gardeners, right plant, right place. And that goes a long ways. But before you even go there, when you're selecting your plants, you want to make sure you get high quality plants. And by that, I mean, go ahead and take them out of the container gently at the nursery and inspect the roots and make sure they're not root bound. Look at the leaves and make sure that they seem to be the color that they should be, and you don't see any pests that it might be wanting to come home with you. You want to make sure that they are the right plant to go in those containers. So by that, I mean you are selecting plants that have the same requirements for sun and water and nutrition as well. Okay. The other thing you want to be thinking about too is the finished plant size. Are you going to be putting a tree into a 1 gallon container? That's not going to last very long. So you're going to end up having to repot it, which we're going to cover in a little bit. But be sure you take into consideration what plants what the finished size are. Bigger plants have bigger roots and they're going to need a bigger container. So when we're talking about planting a design, doing a planting design, there's a lot of different things that you might want to take into consideration. The first thing is, like we said, that you are starting with plants that have the same requirements. By that, like I said, sun plants and shade plants don't mix. You need to have one or the other. There's other considerations too, besides the finished design, and that is that what is it that you're trying to accomplish here? Do you want a cottage look, or are you going for something that's kind of Mediterranean, or are you looking at something that is more contemporary? If you want something that's more contemporary, one of the things that I've seen that's pretty cute is clay pipes standing up and with one specimen right at the top. Usually something architectural like a cactus, or maybe some grass or something like that, like a flax. Or if you can go with something smaller like these bowls and you have over here. But selecting your container so that it matches what it is that you want to have your final thing look like. And then also taking into consideration the texture of the plants, the leaves, the leaf colors, and the height. One of the sayings that's popular with designers is tall, that adds some architectural interest and some height to your plant in your container. You could also use something that was tall, like an obelisk, that would fit into your pot, and then grow ivy up it or something along those lines, or any other climbing plant. It doesn't have to start out tall. It could grow tall and provide that focal point. So once you have decided what your colors are going to be and what the look is going to be and how big it's going to be, you want to start planting it. And so the first thing you would want to do is make sure that the plant that you're going to plant, that you've given it a good watering and that the water is draining through. And then the medium that you've selected to fill your container with, that's moist too. You don't want it wringing wet, but you want it nice and moist so that your plant has something good to get its roots into. And depending on where you've decided where this container is going to go, if it's going to go up against the wall, you're going to want to start by planting your tallest plant or your thriller in the back. But if it's going to be viewed from all sides, you start in the middle, and then you go ahead and you dig a hole. I've also seen it where people go ahead and they take the plant out of the pot that it came in the nursery, and they put the old pot, the nursery pot, into the container and fill in the dirt, the soil around that, and proceed with your filler and your spiller around each side. And then you can just lift the empty pot out, put the root ball of your plant into the hole you've made, and everything fits just perfectly. I've tried this myself now a couple of times, and I find it much easier to get the design easier to get it that way, instead of trying to dig a hole into a big pot. I usually personally like fairly good sized pots with at least 3 to 5 specimens in them. But once you get the plant into it, either however you decide to do that, you want to leave about 1 inch of space at the top and firm it in by pressing it down, and then go ahead and water it gently in. So fillers tend to be rounded in their shape and size, and then the spillers are going to come over the sides and soften up the edges. Be a couple of reasons why you might want to repot a plant. One is that the plant has just outgrown that pot, and maybe you like that plant in that pot and you don't want to really change the pot. So what you can do is to go ahead and take the plant out. You're going to clean the pot out just using a nice wire brush, trim back the roots to about 25%, add some fresh potting soil and some time-release fertilizer, and then plant the plant back into the pot. But perhaps you want that plant to continue to grow. And if that's the case, then what you're going to do again is just to go ahead and remove the plant from the pot and prepare the new pot by making sure that the medium that you're going to put it in there is moist. And you can increase the diameter of the size of the pot by about 2 inches. You don't want to go too big, but not too small, because you want the plant to continue to grow. So if you're going from an 8-inch pot, go to a 10-inch pot. Put it back into that, the new pot. So lots of folks like to have vegetables and they would love to be able to grow them on their balcony, and they don't have room for them in the ground or don't have any ground. So they do well. What I would recommend on these is making sure that you go ahead and again, select your plants carefully by going to the nursery, using the same things that we just talked about, which was making sure that the roots are not too root bound and that the plants look good, they're the right color, you don't see any pests, you don't want to bring them home. Again, a suitable container, usually a 5-gallon container is good for tomatoes. And make sure that you're using the right kind of planting medium. So if you're using one for vegetables instead of ornamentals, and again, making sure that you know the requirements of the vegetables that you're going to plant and making sure they get them in the right location. Most tomatoes and vegetables, you're going to need about 6 hours of sunlight. Here's some suggestions for some different kinds of vegetables that work really well in containers. There's the salad bush hybrid cucumbers and a bush pickle and Space Master. Eggplant, these little tiny ones, aren't they cute? You can see in proportion to the person's hand how big these are. Green beans, all of the ones that you usually love, the Kentucky Wonder and Blue Lake, green onions, lettuce, and peppers, all grow well in pots. Radishes and even squash. This little Ronde de Nice one is really cute. It cuts to be about 1 to 2 inches in diameter, so nice and small. And the one thing about growing your own vegetables that's nice is that it allows you to have the varieties that you wouldn't normally see at the grocery store or even at farmers markets, such as the Ronde de Nice. It bruises easily, so it's not usually found in the grocery store. These are some varieties of tomatoes that grow well. The tumbling tom is a nice choice for a hanging container that would actually even work in a basket. And the red robin, which I don't see here, is a compact weeping kind of form, and it hangs with larger leaves that will offer the tomatoes some sun protection. You can do fruits and berries as well. Again, what you want to be looking for are bush or dwarf varieties. You don't want a full-fledged apple tree in a little 5-gallon pot, so it's going to need to get transplanted. So you want to start with the dwarf or bush varieties. But all of these, apples, plums, cherries, apricots, all go. Strawberries, blueberries. We'll talk about blueberries a little bit more in a minute. All work. Blackberries, because as we say, but they can't seem to contain themselves. So those don't work really well. But most of us can find blackberries pretty easily. Blueberries are, aren't they cute? Look how pretty that pot is. I love that. It just makes me, it's cute even before you go pick those nice blueberries. But again, you want to look for low growing bush varieties. They need an acidic soil of about pH 5. Remove all your flower buds and blossoms that appear the first year because you just want the plant to grow. You don't want it to put any energy into making fruit at this point. Again, drainage is really important. Don't let it sit in the water and don't let it get dry either. Citrus does well. Again, I think this container is so cute. I'd love to look out on my patio and see that in the morning. The Meyer lemon, the calamandan, and the dwarf kaffir lime all do really well in containers. Herbs, probably most folks know that herbs grow really well in the containers. Basil likes heat and sun. Basically, it's going to be a one-season wonder, but that's fine. You get to start again next year. The smaller leaf varieties are going to do better in the pots rather than the full-size big ones. Chives are really easy to grow from seed. They may last for years. Parsley, again, which I love Italian parsley. And usually the recipes call for like a tablespoon, and then you have leftover slimy stuff in your refrigerator in a week. So fresh parsley is really nice to have. Rosemary, scented geraniums, marjoram, lavender all grow really well in pots. The lavender is going to last several years if you give it good care. Augustfolia has a lot of different varieties that grow well that are on the smaller side. The Senna geraniums are really nice, especially someplace where you might brush up against them and get that nice aroma that they offer. Peppermint, chocolate, lemon, rose, that's my favorite. Here's some nice combinations for herb baskets or herb bowls. You can start with an Italian chef's selection that with basil, parsley, oregano, marjoram, and thyme. A salad bowl, the French chef's selection with tarragon, chervil, parsley, or a perfume pot. All work really nicely for containers. So moving into a little bit about drought care and troubleshooting. While pots do give you the advantage of being able to tailor your desires to the plant and being able to put them where you want them, they do need a little extra attention. Since they can't draw nutrients or water from the soil, they're relying on you to provide it to them. If you have not having the results that you're looking for, it's either probably because you're not feeding the plants enough, or you're not watering them enough, or you're watering them too much and there's not good drainage. We use a drip system at our home, and we really like that, and it's on a timer, so that gives you a little bit more freedom to be able to leave, especially in the summer, which when most of us want to go, but without losing your garden. Also, you need to thinking about winterizing them, which is something that's probably coming up right about now as we're getting pretty frosty out here. Plants that are not frost hardy can be protected with sacking or horticultural fleece. You can also, if the pot isn't too big, slip it into another pot, put some straw or rice straw around it, wrap it up, and give it some extra insulation. Or you could say, bring it inside if it's not too big, which also works really well. Then maintenance, you want to make sure that you're inspecting your plants regularly, make sure that there aren't any dead bugs or bugs coming onto them. Remove the dead blooms because they're unsightly, and also don't allow your plant to continue to grow, and put effort into that as opposed to just taking care of those dead blooms. Trim off dead branches because they're unattractive. Use your chemicals sparingly. A lot of times just a blast of water will take care of a lot of things and not have to use any chemicals. And then if you have them out in the middle of the yard, then you want to turn them frequently, at least once a week, so that they don't grow unevenly. So this is a wonderful table that you are going to be able to have access to if you go to our website and check out the presentation. And also there is this separate document that has all of these different types of ailments, symptoms, if you will, and what might be causing them and what to do. And I like this table a lot. And when I was able to do the presentation live, I always had it as a handout because there's about 4 pages of this, and you're never going to remember what they were. So I encourage you to go to the website and download it and print it out for yourself. And that way you'll be able to have it as a resource. It also continues on here with limp and soft leaves, or things that gotten dead and browned, brown patches on the leaves, twisted stalks, lanky plants. Some of them kind of make sense, like they don't have a lot of sunlight, but move them to a sunnier location. But some of them we probably don't know. So I think there's like 4 pages. Yeah, 5. So again, I'm not going to go through each one of these, but I encourage you to go to the website and download it, and then you'll have it. So next we get to move into some fun parts, the photo gallery that gives some nice examples that I'll speak to, that we'll kind of talk again. These containers all look to be glazed ceramic and different sizes in the garden. I think they look really nice. This is a real pumpkin with little succulents in it for the fall season. Obviously, this would be something that would be a temporary container, but you can use it. I would suggest, again, making sure that there's some drainage in the bottom if you want it to stick around. But these little succulents that are planted out here look really cute, and they aren't going to need a ton of drainage because you're not going to be giving it a ton of water. I'd like to point out too that our fellow master gardener from Contra Costa County has a company called Thrillers, Fillers, and Spillers. And I contacted her and received permission to to allow us to use a lot of these photos for today. I think the one on the left is a great example of having this nice tall grass that gives you definitely a lot of different vertical interest in a pot above all of these pretty plants, but are all basically the same height. So it really helps give you a little bit more than what you would normally look at. This is an herb garden, and I think, again, the blue pot in this massive green adds another beautiful focal point. I believe this is from one of our Mother's Day garden tours, and it's awfully pretty. This is probably a fiberglass pot because it's sitting on a glass table. I'm just guessing, but that's where I'm going with it. It's awfully pretty, though. Again, these nice red stick dogwood provides some nice vertical interest, and this is probably a ceramic container. Hanging baskets with the natural fiber. These lovely tall ones with some nice vertical interest and a pretty flower basket. This is probably going to be good for a summer party. So kind of closing up today, we talked about the different design elements, making sure that you have some vertical interest, that you have some difference in the foliage and the colors. You can use just about any kind of container you want, so long as it has good drainage. There's little that you can do with very little that you can't do with planting in a container. You just need to make sure that you're regularly watering it and feeding it and taking care of it to have the maximum success, and make sure that you're winterizing it and against frost. These are my references, and they are on our website as well. These are some great things to download, getting started with container gardening, helpful hints for successful container gardening, the tip sheet that I was talking about. And then we have questions. Thank you, Lauren.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Brooke. That was great. I just want to remind everybody that this has been recorded, and a link to this recording and the PowerPoint slides will be posted on our home website, so you can refer back to that if you need to. Let's see if we have any questions here. Let's see, here's one from Marilyn. She asks, when transplanting to the container, do you use vitamin B1 in the hole? And if so, do you add it before or after planting?
Marilyn, I don't usually use anything that is supposed to, I believe B1 is supposed to help prevent transplant shock. I kind of go with making sure that your plants that you've gotten from the nursery are in good shape, and that you're just gentle with the roots when you take them out of the pot. Feather them out really gently and then set them in. I typically don't use any kind of vitamins, other than I've added slow release fertilizer if my potting soil doesn't have that.
All right. Well, doesn't look like any more questions. I would like to thank everybody for tuning in today, and I'd like to invite you to join on Saturday, January 23rd at 10:30, and that will be on Japanese maples. Hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, I removed everybody, so it's just us
Okay.
now.
Couldn't, I
What's that?
I thought I was muted. I lost